cars up safely into Magic Corner. Flag waves at the back, everyone's safe to go. Up and down they go. Sam Wilson bolted out of the box. Wheel spin for Hibbert from pole, but Wilson was good. The 2-litre Cooper got swallowed from the outside, and second is Roger Wills into Magic. Third is John Young. Hibbert down in 4th place, and Andy Middlehurst already 5th. So it's Wilson, Wills, and then 4 abreast there, and Andrew Hibbert looked down the inside. Hibbert's back up into 4th place, but he loses out again.
Yeah. Wills into the lead.
On the outside, and Wills has got the lead.
Well, it's like a cracking race down to St Mary's. Really, really tight. What a run on the opening few corners from Roger Wills. John Young trying to go with as well.
Look at
Sam
Middlehurst
Wilson
around the
back.
outside.
Middlehurst, he's going to try and gain a few more. Up into 3rd place in the Lotus number 10. Right behind him, John Young. A pole man, Andrew Hibbert, down in 5th place. So it's all been jumbled up. And now look, round the outside. That's the line he seems to like to take. Roger Wills holding the lead. Sam Wilson still trying to do what he can. But what a start from Wilson. Yet it didn't quite pay off. The Coopers had better traction and went into the lead.
Middlehurst already attacking Wilson for second. He goes straight past him. And in fact, Wilson had a really bad run to the van straight. Then he's dropped another place. And I think Middlehurst could actually lead by the end of the lap at this rate. He's got 1 car left ahead of him. Wills, as they come down into Woodcote.
Yeah, and Andrew Hibbert coming back as well.
Roger Wills has been around here too many times to leave the gap for him to go through at that point, but Middlehurst just settling in there. Hibbert's gone wide, and the 2-litre Cooper tacking onto the back of that top 5. So it's 6 cars in the leading battle, and up the outside, sailing past it into the lead, has come the white number 10 Lotus. A fabulous start for that car, and Andy Middlehurst, who started 6th on the grid, leads.
It really was a case of take the top 6 and jumble them up. Gareth Burnett outside the front row, he's back in sync. They all got shaken around, but a great start from Wills, but there's nothing he can do at the moment about Middlehurst, who's streaked through in that number 10 Lotus, and so the battle for second place is still incredibly tight as they come to St Mary's, but Middlehurst is about 2 seconds clear in the second part of the corner. Wills comes into the second part too. Sam Wilson right on his tail. I think Wilson missed a gear last time going out of Lavin, that's why he lost so much ground. Certainly fighting his way back with John Young tucked in behind, trying to do his bit as well.
Well, he repassed John Young coming down into St Mary's, and he's just passed Wills into the van, so he's now up to second, but already Middlehurst is getting away. It's a fantastic first lap and a half from Andy Middlehurst. Wilson now up second, and Hibbert done the opposite to what he did yesterday. He's got himself a whole lot of work to do now.
Absolutely, it's a pack though, chasing and battling behind race leader Andy Middlehurst. And Middlehurst actually got the lead as he crossed the line. There were just 5 thousandths of a second between them. So you were absolutely right in your aspirations for this race, Kevin.
A rare prediction being correct there. He's straight down to the 26s, 2.5 seconds back to Wilson, who's himself now got a second lead over Wills. So Hibbert's still mired in that battle for third.
Yes, I honestly think if Hibbert could get round to those 2 Coopers, he could set off after the others. He looked very, very good in practice yesterday, but with Wills and Young using all the track ahead of him, makes it very difficult indeed as they go around Fordwater. Do you want to be on the outside line at Fordwater? Not entirely sure. Nor's Hibbert, so he tucked in behind. Wills leading the fellow Cooper racer John Young, and now making his move around the outside into St Mary's. Upper position goes our pole man Andrew Hibbert in number 79, the UDT Laystall Lotus.
That was a very bold move, but of course in John Young is a very safe pair of hands. A change of lead, and Sam Wilson has come past Middlehurst. I suspect Middlehurst has a problem because it was an easy dive through, and there was no attempt to respond to that at that point. Maybe it was a gear problem for Middlehurst, but we've got the Green Lotus in the lead by a big chunk. No, hand goes in the air, and unfortunately, it looks like Andy Middlehurst's race is run.
He wasn't just hanging back to play. Well, that's a shame. If it's a gearbox problem on a Lotus, that must be nearly unheard of, Marcus.
But we've still got a Lotus fight at the front of him because Hibbert is now clear in second. Can he now chase down Wilson? It's the opposite to the situation that we saw yesterday, where Wilson was always behind in the F3 race.
Yeah, well, at least it's a wonderful gaggle of Coopers, because it's Wills from Young and now Gareth Burnett getting in on the axe, covered all of them by about a second and a half on the start-finish line. Great racing to be had. Still quarter of an hour to go. But out front, well, he wouldn't have expected to be there. Sam Wilson, after being gobbled up in the early stages of the race, but he's worked his way up, caught up and passed, unfortunately, the ailing, failing pace setter from early in the race, Andy Middlehurst, pulled off.
So the gap between the top two is 2.7 seconds across the line. It'd be interesting to see if Hibbert can now start edging towards Wilson, or whether Wilson will just be too quick.
No, he is. I'd say that he's taken about a second off that by the time they got to the exit of St Mary's. Behind them, Wills and Young, they seem to drop Burnett. I don't know if he made a mistake. He was much closer at the start of the laps.
That's only a 2-litre car, remember, so he hasn't got the grunt.
Yes, he probably qualified higher than his pace should be.
Tricky conditions, yes, absolutely. Gareth Burnett, very rapid driver.
Look, that's not a 2.5 second gap between Wilson and
Hibbert.
2.5
lengths, I think. It's probably absolutely unbelievable. Here comes up the inside. A change of lead. Andrew Hibbert flicks the car under braking, steers with the rear, and goes through into the lead. So Hibbert now leads the way. Hibbert from Wilson at Woodcote.
Well, Wilson didn't fight that. He realised, he saw what was happening, and the last thing he wanted to be clattered up the inside, so very wise, stayed wide. But now the pace that Hibbert could attain in that really low sitting Lotus, let's see how much he can pull clear, because clearly he's got his tail up behind. Wills and Young having a great scrap. A pit visitor in the background.
I think it might be
Burnett. And up coming Malcolm Cook, coming along well. He's up into 5th place, Malcolm Cook, sometime Formula Ford 2000 racer.
Might have Andy Middlehurst coming back into the race. He's still sitting at that number 10 Lotus in the pit lane. So yes, very close to Cooper's ahead of him in that battle for 4th to 6th place at the start of that, but dropped back, and it clearly was a problem for Gareth Burnett, not just the fact he had that smaller engine. So this is the battle for 3rd place. Roger Wills, number 22, 17 John Young. Far more used to seeing John in sports cars and touring cars, but he's making a really good fist in the number 17 Cooper.
Yeah, he is indeed, and I don't know whether you've seen him in a single-seater, I can't recall.
I can't think. Maybe it's a late career change of direction.
Yes,
but look, Hibbert's got in front, but he's not pulling clear, and in fact, if anything, they're closer now. Wilson's closing right back in than they were when they came past me at St Mary's, but at the end of the lap, this is where the lead changed last time around. It looks so it was over and out for Sam Wilson. Oh no.
That little moment down at Woodcote when the leader, Hibbert, missed his apex, having got a little bit crossed up on the brakes, allowed Wilson right back into it. These two guys know each other very well, they trust each other, they've raced many times wheel to wheel in Formula Junior cars. This is for real in Grand Prix cars, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like unless he had a moment that we didn't see, it's almost like Wilson waited for Hibbert and said, right, let's have a proper duel from now. So they're in the 27. So Hibbert's the fastest lap actually to get up to the back of Wilson was a 1:25.
He just pipped took fastest lap away from Andy Middlehurst. Henry is down in the pits. Henry, what can you tell us?
Andy, very bad luck. What happened? Well, I got a good start, obviously, and I got on with the job, and then the misfire came in, and that's it. Just started prickling, and then it just started getting worse, and it just eventually cut out in the end. And the qualifying problem was a magneto, you told me earlier.
Yeah, it's cut out because the magneto cover had come off, so it cut out. So I was out of position anyway. So a bit disappointing really, because I could have had that one, I think.
Yeah, shame. It was a stonking first lap.
Yeah, it was. Just went for it really, and I just went with the grip I had, so that was good.
Hard luck, Andy.
Thank you.
What a shame. Andy Middlehurst, 6th to 1st on the opening lap, and out of the race then within 3. But the battle continues up front with the two Lotus 18s with distinctly different ride heights going through. Pale green car, the low rider, and the works car on the outside. Next, Jim Clark in his Ireland chassis.
But so far in this race, both of them have made the mistakes that's cost them momentum, and so they're absolutely on the edge now and can neither afford another little slip up. I think it was a gear change problem on the opening lap for Sam Wilson that lost him ground. But
they've found one or two slower cars in difficult places, haven't they? Down by you, Bruce.
Yeah, we've just gone past one before St Mary's. That's luckily hasn't really affected either of them.
That's the JBW Maserati.
So it is, a little red flash up its nose. But Sam Wilson seems to have a little more grunt out of the corners, but in terms of braking, it seems though Andrew Hibbert more comfortable in the race-leading UDT Laystall Lotus.
I suspect the UDT Laystall pale green car, newly rebuilt, has been very, very accurately set up. It's probably absolutely spot on. And Wilson, who doesn't own the car that he's in, may not have had the chance to have much mileage in it to get this far, but he's giving a very good account of himself as ever.
Well, Michael Hibbert would have seen his son Andrew just flash past. That was Michael in the basking shark Cooper T45 51 they passed, but down into the chicane, and don't forget this time around, well, not this lap, but this year the chicane is rather more sturdy than it has been in previous years, and the drivers are treating it with the respect it's due, because it's plastic containers filled with water, and that's far harder to hit than the polystyrene blocks of old.
Well, Hibbert upped the pace by 2.5 seconds that time around, and Wilson went with him, so he's now done a 25.
Wilson
so
did two
25s.
best sectors of anybody, sectors 2 and 3. No one has been quicker in that latter half of the circuit. Wilson Young now quite a long way away. They're 10 seconds behind. And then Malcolm Cook is in 5th. Rainer Ott has worked his way through the South Americans to get up into 6th place. Number 61, the German, ahead of Slesky. And where has Elisabi gone? He's fallen away. He's gone.
Well, look at our leaders going through traffic down to Laban. Who was braver? Well, Andrew Hibbert's been very brave indeed, and certainly Sam Wilson backed off. He was worried that 34 hadn't seen him, which is John Bussey. But I think they've come out about the same distance apart as when they came across that gaggle of cars. Andrew Garino in the background as well, with the Scottish Saltar on his Italian helmet.
I think that was rather sensible from Wilson there.
Definitely.
It didn't look like the Cooper had seen. The body language of the car was, I'm going to turn in, so he just gave it a little bit of room, and he hasn't lost a huge amount.
He's lost half a second. Certainly better than having your nose clouded. Then there'll be a gap, and then here comes the battle for 3rd place. It's still Roger Wilson. It really is a fantastic battle. It's a great battle coming along behind them a bit further back. Ott and Silecki having a fabulous battle over 6th place, but the battle over 3rd, really good, but both such experienced drivers. But for John Young to be out there in a single seater, taking someone like Roger Wills, who's been fantastic for the past decade in single seaters, a real feather in his cap.
He's raced 3 litre DFE powered Formula 1 cars as well, a wide range of GT and sports cars and touring cars as well. Eclectic range on his CV.
It looks like he might actually be able to go quicker if he could find a way through. Wilson's had to take a defensive line into a couple of the corners to keep him back.
Yeah, I feel for the traffic could dictate the outcome of this battle. They're so close together. But they don't seem to have different points on the circuit where one has an advantage over the other. That certainly is, well, that's the 34 in their problem.
Yeah, Clive Cork, Clive Wilson and John Bussey. It's a question of
around the outside.
Who chooses the best way. He's made it. John Young went through, but
he's compromised at the kink.
This is superb racing, isn't it? Oh, and John Young made the wrong choice there. And
well, luckily, John
Wills.
Bussey came across the nose of Roger Wills, and that's allowed him straight back on. You thought that was battle over and out, but John Young has been able to get right back where he was before. What a cracking battle for 3rd place.
Hibbert's continuing to turn the screw at the front. He's done a best of all in the middle sector. Again, asking the question of Wilson, can he stay with him as they come across the line? I would say yes is probably the answer. And they're both in the 25s. In fact, Wilson is a 10th quicker, so the gap's now just 0.6 of a second at the front.
Yeah, well, this one's going to go all the way to the flag. 6.5 minutes remaining until that checker will be shown. Will it be to Andrew Hibbert leading the way, or will Sam Wilson be able to take the battle all the way to the finish? 0.6 of a second on the start-finish line. You'd have to say the answer to that is yes, but coming down out of Ford Water, it looks as though Hibbert has gained an advantage in the early part of this lap. They've got a slower runner just ahead of them. The Cooper battle for 3rd place will be coming across that group soon. But they're 15 seconds back, shows the pace of the Lotus 18s in the lead of the race. But right now, for Wills and Young, it's not a battle for victory. It's just victory in this battle that counts for them.
The Coopers are much softer set than the Lotuses, aren't they? And they lean well through the corners. They are well poised through there. And they dangle their wheels too at the slightest provocation.
Yeah, they look a much more comfortable car to race in terms of their grip and handling. Much less extreme than the Lotus.
Well, of course, the Lotus 18's contemporary in Cooper terms is the T53 lowline, and we're looking at older cars who really the 18s should have.
The best lowlines in 7th place.
Absolutely,
Rainer Ott.
So the 18s should have an edge over the T51.
Rainer Ott's just actually lost the position at the end of that lap to Matthias Silecki, so 6th place in the hands of Silecki. That's been a good battle. Sam Wilson, though, not over and out, 0.7 of a second, so he's lost about a 20th of a second in the last lap. We'll
best
forgive
final
him that.
sector. Best final sector
He's
of
really
anyone,
quick
though.
at the end of the lap, is Wilson. And that's keeping him in range, and they're consistently now at the 25s.
Yes, whereas their next closest rivals in third, fourth places doing low 1 minute 27s. Therein the difference. Mesmerising this battle on screen for third place. Roger Wills in 22, and the white Cooper of John Young, who's just prepared to have a go absolutely everywhere. See if he can get past, but Roger Wills has not left the door open. They're praying, of course, not to come across any more traffic and keep it as a clean battle. But look how brave John Young is in that battle down to St Mary's.
3 more cars ominously up ahead.
Yes, indeed. I think they'll have the Wolfgang Seidel car just up ahead of them, number 8.
That's Nick Taylor.
Next.
That's Marshall Bailey in the bright green Cooper Maserati, having a little tussle with 14. That's Richard Wilson.
Yeah, fighting over 8th place.
Richard Wilson in his Pucker Cooper, or Walker car. Well, John Harper used extensively.
The leaders come through, and Hibbert, I think this is going to be another quick one. 25.250. It's a new fast lap from Hibbert.
Gained a second.
And he gained a second, yes.
Yeah, because early in the lap I could see as they came out of Ford Water, the gap had opened up. It was 7/10 on the line last time around, if I recall rightly. But it was clearly more than that. So things starting to go his way, but he'll have to scan the horizon because they'll come across back markers very quickly indeed. What we're seeing on the big screens on the start-finish line, third place still with Roger Wilson. John Young did well to get past that trio of back markers as they go down to Madrid. So still on Roger's tail. Roger will enjoy this race.
Yes, I wonder if Young actually would be quite happy to catch a gaggle of back markers again.
Oh, I think so.
That's when he briefly got ahead, wasn't it, at St Mary's a couple of laps ago, when he boldly went around the outside and then got boxed in the very next corner.
Yes, if you come across them one at a time, it's a fighting chance. But get 2 or 3 fighting ahead of you, and well, you've got to guess and hope you're right. John Young got it wrong last time he tried that, but through St Mary's, nice and even. He's half a second off the tail of Roger Wills. But for number 3, it's been a great battle for Marshall Bailey.
Yep, Richard Wilson's got around the outside of him. And Woodcote picks up the order. Richard Wilson up into 8th place now in car number 14.
Sam Wilson using all the road on the exit of the chicane as he continues to chase Hibbert. But Hibbert's now got into the 24s. Well, so is Wilson. It's a 24.6 from the leader, a 24.9 from Wilson. And the gap's just now up to 2 seconds. He's just edging away at the front.
This battle is going to go all the way to 2.25 minutes still to go. We're going to have one more lap after the one they're on. Wilson Young half a second apart and clear of Malcolm Cook.
Andrew Hibbert coming across a trio of cars. The first one he passed at St Mary's, he went round the outside. That was his father, Michael Hibbert. Then coming up across that group we're talking about, Bailey and Wilson. But he's just, with that 2-second advantage, should be able to pick his moment to Sam Wilson. May close in a bit, but really the grouping that we're looking at now will not hit any more traffic. There's a big enough gap between them and any back markers ahead. So Roger Wills will have to just keep doing the defensive lines he's been using since the outset of this race to keep John Young behind him, but at least there'll be no traffic to interrupt their progress.
The battle for 10th has been incredible. Sid Hoole in 24 was 34 thousandths of a second ahead of 28 Tony Ditheridge. They're being closed upon by Nick Taylor, having his first run in the white Lotus 18. So a great battle, 3-car battle for 10th, but this is the battle for 3rd on your screens. 22 Roger Wills still holding off 17 John Young, as 79 Andrew Hibbert and 18 Sam Wilson go through, and it's a little bit closer this time, Kevin.
Yes, there was some traffic they had to work through, and I think Hibbert lost quite a bit of time in the middle section and down the back straight, and then Wilson lost it at the chicane, so it ended up at 1.6. And I think that also will be their last lap.
Yeah, I think so. They've been doing the maths as well. One presumes that to be the case. Looking to see how close they are, but the good thing for Andrew Hibbert coming down to the first part of St Mary's as Wills and Young fight for 3rd place into Madrid is there is no traffic ahead of him. Might catch one back marker, but it's one back marker on its own. So for Sam Wilson, I think the chase is up. He'll keep on going until he sees that checkered flag, but much closer in position is that tussle for 3rd place. Roger Wills in the dark Cooper, still ahead of the white one of John Young, but John has a look at the inside. Is that the place he goes to come to St Mary's? Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought he might have a look there because he's looked strong, hasn't he, through Ford Water.
Very strong.
But he just can't quite get it done down the inside on the brakes. And he's running out of time now.
Well, there we have it. 1 second on the clock. The checkered flag would definitely be out at the end of this lap. Where is the move going to come? So down into Woodcote for the final
There's the
time.
leader.
Andrew Hibbert leading the way.
All he's got to do is thread the pale green. Lotus number 79, owned by Stephen Bond, driven by Andrew Hibbert. It's preparing. He comes through and he shakes his fist with delight as he crosses the line.
Wilson
he comes
sets
through
the
ahead of
new
Wilson.
fastest lap on the very last lap in his pursuit. He never gave up as they come into down to Woodcote. Young really right up behind Wills, but Wills hasn't cracked the race so far. He's just got to get through the chicane and get a decent run. Ooh, very defensive line on the way in. Very conservative, but he's got a decent run out, and I think he'll win the battle of the Coopers as they run towards the line.
But not by much. A couple of tenths maybe.
0.363 of a second.